WCON 1170 Radio and Star Vision Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. The name of the program is We Should Know. Thank you, Nicole, for that wonderful introduction you always do for us each week. We've got an exciting program today at We Should Know. Had a great opportunity to be out in the field some this week, but we want to start today with a guy that you've probably seen on here before. I know you have seen this fellow because he's got TV experience, WECT. Dr. Bruce Williams is with us. Bruce, I want to thank you for coming back. World traveler, been around, I guess, probably more than anybody I know with air miles and travel miles. The country that we're talking about today is Kazakhstan. You spent quite a bit of time over there. You've done a lot of things in Kazakhstan, the 9th largest country in the world, land area-wise. A lot of things that I had no idea about Kazakhstan. Let's start, if you will, a bit. I mean, you've got such a broad background in everything from genealogy and plants and various kinds of things. This whole Kazakhstan experience that we're going to be talking about today, give us a flavor for what we're looking at when we're talking about Kazakhstan, the country, and something that you've seen over there, and then we're going to do a couple of outtakes today, so we want to try to get some of those in this first break. But tell us about Kazakhstan from your eyes so we can better understand what we're talking about.
Well, first, you've got to visualize where it is, and it's in a part of the world that most Americans are not familiar with. It's in a part of the world called Central Asia, and that is the part of the world really from the Republic of Georgia at the Black Sea all the way over to the mountains that separate China and what we know as Central Asia. I mean, there's mountains that actually go down to form the Himalayas at one point. It's the same mountain chain. It's not called the same thing. And that's Central Asia. It's a huge block of land. It is generally very arid. And the largest country in that Central Asian region is Kazakhstan. And Kazakhstan has, if you go to the Caspian Sea, you'll see it borders the Caspian Sea. It is primarily a very arid place, a flat area, but it has some absolutely beautiful agricultural soils in the southern areas and in some parts of the eastern part of the country up near the mountain ranges. It is the center of origin of a number of agricultural crops and domestic animals. I mean, the horse is a center of origin. That's where it first started. Apples, apricots, some people think peaches, some people think some plums came out of that area too. So it's very interesting from an agricultural and botanic standpoint. But it's a huge country, 20 times bigger than North Carolina. So, and a very beautiful country, but it is separate from China, but you can see the Chinese influence in the people's faces.
We'll be looking at that in a minute. We've got, like I said, a couple of outtakes. We were fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to talk to some of these folks and do your efforts and them coming through the area. We were out in the field doing some videos. So I want to kind of go out first and let's do this outtake first and get a kind of a shot and a feel for the delegation. And we're talking here through an interpreter. Galina Velkster and Almir Jakubova is the person, the expert that is literally speaking on behalf of the country. Of course, she doesn't speak English. So as you look at this, we want you to get a kind of a feel for who we're talking about and a little bit about the people. So let's take a quick look at this outtake.
So this is a delegation from Kazakhstan. They're businessmen and agricultural workers in a variety of fields, and they are here mainly to exchange their experience with local growers and to bring back home something that is advancing in this country.
Now, as we come back, I think you kind of, our listeners and viewers kind of not only saw but heard a little bit about the language, and they kind of got a feel for why why these folks are here. But more importantly, you became quite the ambassador from my observation. I mean, a lot of the things you did, this was a huge undertaking. These folks came in, was it Georgia and then through 2 or 3 states?
Well, it was very interesting. I got a call this summer from a gentleman in Washington, D.C. that works with USAID, and he says, we need some help on setting up a tour. We have a group of farmers that want to see vegetable production in the southeast U.S., and he said, we're looking to have them here in December. And I said, well, you aren't going to see much vegetable production around here in December. And so we went back and forth, and we moved it up a couple of months into October. And so it was a delegation of vegetable farmers that were coming here. And what they asked me to do is help put together a tour so they could see the best in vegetable production in the southeast U.S. So they actually flew in to Atlanta, Georgia, and we scheduled the same time they have the big Sunbelt Expo down in Moultrie. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a huge agricultural expo in Moultrie, Georgia, that attracts thousands of people, and they have all sorts of agricultural equipment. And the underlying theme, the number one thing is to share information. It was a information sharing thing. But the number 2 thing is to sell them something, because Kazakhstan has about 5% of the world's oil reserves. And so they have money, they have resources, and they were very interested in our technology for farming and to support their people. And so at Moultrie, they saw a lot of that equipment, they saw a lot of manufacturers. They were always taking pictures of equipment tags, where they were from, you know, so they could call them up, and hopefully we'll have some of Kazakh money coming back into the United States, and that was the intent of some of this.
Absolutely, absolutely, a wonderful opportunity for folks that, and I just saw it here in our area as I observed. People were excited to be able to make this connection, and the connection, again, as you said, is exports as well as the potential of some imports. But a lot of ships leave the country now and they're empty. We want to make sure those ships are full. So if it's equipment or even products that we can send over there, it would be a huge plus for us. So this was an economic exchange of information as well as specific agricultural information.
Absolutely. And what you find is the more another culture knows about you and you know about them, you have that interchange, and that's what trade is about. And you know, this was all sponsored by USAID. That's the Agency for International Development, the United States Agency for International Development. And a lot of our trade, and it's absolutely essential, it starts through little delegations like this, and bringing farmers over, bringing businessmen over, and starting some kind of relationship. And I think we have planted many seeds with this group, and will be in the future. You have to do this so you can get that revenue coming in the future and improving that trade.
Well, you know, Bruce, you've made a number of trips to Kazakhstan, and you've seen a lot of things over there. Were there people in this group that you had built relationships prior to that you recognized, or was these all new folks to you?
These were all new folks, and there were some pretty heavy hitters in this, folks. There was one of the individuals owned a cannery. It was a small cannery. I think he did about 1.5 million containers a year, but they only have 12 million people. Their population is not too much greater than the population of North Carolina, even though the land area is much larger. So we had another grower that had 1,000 acres of apple orchards. Apples that's the center of origin for apples, so that's a pretty good orchard. I don't care where you're from. 1,000 acres is a huge orchard. So we had some pretty, big time farmers. We had a huge potato farmer. They eat a lot of potatoes, a lot of rice, and that sort of thing.
It's a very diverse group then. So there's what, a total of 20 people in the group?
Well, there was actually 11 representatives from farms on the Kazakh. Then we had Almira, who was the government representative, and then 2 translators. because they actually speak two languages, Russian and Kazakh. Kazakh is the official language, but Russian is spoken everywhere, and everybody is bilingual. Many people are trilingual.
So when we look at it and we think about it from our perspective and not knowing, and I'm trying to paint a picture here for our listeners and viewers, this is a very unusual country in that, first of all, it's not as oftentimes we might look at countries around the world and say, well, this is kind of an impoverished country. This is a very wealthy country with oil reserves. It's a very wealthy country in the agricultural base. Large cities in Kazakhstan, although it does have this large land base. The agriculture piece, though, is just fascinating, I think, for us and especially our listeners, because we understand how important agriculture is. I mean, we're $70+ billion infrastructure support here for agriculture in North Carolina. Is that relationship the same there? I mean, does agriculture support Kazakhstan in that huge amount of dollar base?
Well, there's nothing that's the same between here and Kazakhstan.
Okay.
First, because it's a wealthy country, but for a very small percentage. The average guy in Kazakhstan is in tough shape because there's a very small percentage that have most of the oil money. And so the average guy is not wealthy, but the country as a whole may be wealthy. It's like many of the countries you hear about. They're still learning about democracy. They do have a republic form of government, but it is in its infancy. They have very little infrastructure like we have, like roads. And the best way I can explain that is Almaty is the largest city in Kazakhstan, and it's over in the southeastern portion, and it's several million people. When I was there 7 or 8 years ago, a John Deere combine was delivered to Almaty, and they had no way to get the combine to the farm, which was over 500 miles away. And they ended up driving the combine down the roads, dirt roads, everything, to get to the farm, 500 miles.
Hold that thought, that's interesting. We're going to take our first break. We'll be back in a moment. We're talking about Kazakhstan with Dr. Bruce Williams.
Hello, everyone. This is Jim Darden. After 25 years of teaching horticulture at Sampson Community College, I've retired to devote my full attention to Darden's Nursery and Landscaping, where we have grown local azaleas, trees, and other landscape plants for over 30 years. And our landscaping division has designed and installed hundreds of residential and commercial landscapes, irrigation, sodding, and night light systems as well. Please give me a call at 590-9689 or at home at 592-1424, and let's get started on your landscape. Our initial consultation is free. Congratulations to J.W. Simmons on an outstanding program, We Should Know.
Hi, I'm Cliff Ireland with the Small Business Center at Sampson Community College. We offer things like one-on-one individual confidential counseling sessions. We offer assistance to both startup businesses and existing businesses. We have a network of referrals both here in the county and outside the county. And in addition, we offer year-round seminars and workshops in professional development. One of the neat things about the Small Business Center is that for the majority of the programs, it is at little or no cost to Small Business Center clients or seminar participants. Now, if you want to know how we can help you or help your business, please call 592-7176 at Sampson Community College.
You really thought about what you have to lose if you drink and drive?
This is your District Attorney, Ernie Lee. You could lose your privilege to drive and spend serious jail time.
Hello, I'm Cindy Joyner. Driving impaired can make your insurance increase significantly and could create problems in finding a quality insurance plan.
This is Sherry Matthews with the Sampson Independent. Your name could appear in the local media, causing embarrassment to your family, friends, and coworkers.
Hi, this is Luis Torres from Murphy Brown LLC. You know you could even lose your job, resulting in severe hardship for you and your family.
Hi, this is Dr. Tommy Newton, and personal injuries to yourself and others may often be severe and permanently disabling.
I'm Laura Bradshaw, a member of SAD. The most important loss may be your life or the life of someone else.
This is Cindy Joyner with Lockamy Tech Insurance. We are pleased to sponsor this message. Join us as we promote safer communities and help prevent needless tragedies.
Remember, don't lose your privilege to drive. This is First Sergeant Ricky Hooks with the North Carolina State Highway Patrol. For additional information, call 910-592-3141.
Health Mart Pharmacy.
A real live person. It's just like Jenny told me.
Another friend of Jenny's. Great. I've met about 3 of Jenny's friends just this week.
You'll meet more of us. Jenny was telling all of us last week how great Health Mart is.
At Health Mart, all of our pharmacists take the time to get to know our patients, explain their medications, and answer any questions they may have. We really believe in better care and better service.
Can I stop in after work?
Absolutely.
Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
For all of your prescription and healthcare needs, shop Matthews Health Mart in the Jordan Shopping Plaza or call 592-3121.
I'm Gary Hall, manager of Sessoms Jewelry. We are proud to be sponsors of JW's We Should Know. At Sessoms Jewelry, we've always strived to give you the latest in technical advice and knowledge on our merchandise. Remember, we should know at Sessoms Jewelry, downtown Clinton.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Name of the program is We Should Know. If you happen to be listening to your radio, WCLN 1170 AM, Star Vision Channel 16. We're worldwide on the internet at oldies1170.com. Working on a project now to get us some of these programs up on YouTube and also our Facebook at We Should Know. You can like us on Facebook at We Should Know. Send us information to We Should Know, edu@gmail.com. We Should Know, edu@gmail.com. Let us know what you think, suggestions about future programs. We're talking with Dr. Bruce Williams. Dr. Bruce Williams, Bruce to most people, world traveler, been around a lot, talking about Kazakhstan, depending, I guess, on what kind of colloquial slant you've got. But one of the things you just mentioned as we were going to break a while ago was the this kind of, I guess, broad base of wealth and so forth in Kazakhstan, and you were talking about the piece of equipment the farmer bought and drove it about 500 miles. Now, we probably got some folks here in Sampson County that has driven some equipment that far, but it's been up and down corn roads. You know, I think it's interesting when you think about that. It would be unimaginable for somebody to buy a piece of equipment in Atlanta, Georgia, and drive it on I-95 all the way back to Sampson County, but we don't even have interstates over there, do we?
Right. Well, no. Around the cities, they have very modern roads.
Okay.
So around Astana, which is the capital of the country, or Almaty, it's just like you were around Raleigh. Mm-hmm. But what happens is, as soon as you get 20, 30 miles out of the city, the roads go to 2-lane and they go to not very good. And so, I mean, very rough roads in many cases. So, and you go to a desert. I mean, so it's a very difficult environment to get through and to maintain roads, and they have not got the road connections. When I was there, I flew between cities. I spent most of my time in a southern city called Shymkent, which is just north of Uzbekistan. Mm-hmm. And it is a beautiful vegetable production area, but basically you didn't have vegetables unless you put water on it. Mm-hmm. And so they dug wells and used flood irrigation or other means to, corral water into where they wanted to grow things.
One of the things that's interesting, as I was, the short time I was with the group and that we were there doing some, exchange of information and some of these outtakes, was the interest in sweet potatoes and the sweet potato. I guess through assumption kind of thought, well, the country probably grows sweet potatoes. But they were fascinated at our sweet potato, the sweet potato itself. And I know at lunch we talked about it. Of course, Jim Darden was with us with Darden's Nursery, one of our sponsors to this program. And Jim mentioned to me, he said, these folks are not familiar with sweet potatoes. So we made arrangements to have some sweet potato brought to the tables and passed it around so they could taste sweet potato. And to just see their faces, it was like they were blown away. You could see, the heads going up and down and the eyes, elevated, and they were smiling. It was like, this is unbelievable.
They liked the sweet potatoes.
And then, of course, we're out in the field, and again, Jim Darden, and I'm going to give him a shout out here, he made arrangements and he brought them some sweet potato pie, and it was unbelievable. There
wasn't anything left.
Exactly. It was amazing at how they enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Tell us, and there was a lot of discussion, and as a geneticist with plants and stuff, there was a lot of discussion about varieties of sweet potatoes. Is that a huge issue for them and us as well?
It's a very complex issue. First, you have to understand where they live is roughly over a 42-degree north latitude. To give folks, that's north of New York State. Mm-hmm. So that's very far north. They grow cotton there, thousands of acres of super high quality cotton. But imagine having to transplant each cotton plant. They actually grow in a greenhouse and then hand transplant to the field. They don't sow the seed because they have to get started so much later because of the frost that they have there. So it'd be the same thing with sweet potatoes. But they grow primarily white potatoes now during the summer. But I think you could easily grow sweet potatoes there, and I think especially with selection of the correct varieties, there are some varieties that could be grown there that would offer a very high quality starch source and vitamin source for them. And one of the big issues with their current diet is it's very limited. They have a very limited diet. They are primarily meat and potato eaters. They're from nomadic peoples, originated from nomadic peoples, so they're meat and potato, rice. When I was there, it was tough getting green vegetables. And so they don't eat a lot of green vegetables. They don't have much diversity. I mean, we've got 900 edible species in the plant kingdom, and you know, most of us limit our diets to 15, 20 of them, and that's it. And they just eat potatoes. They need another starch source, vitamin source for that, and sweet potatoes would be a great solution for that.
You know, there was an interesting comment. I know I was talking with Amir, who again she was kind of the spokesperson for the group through her interpreter Galena, and there was a comment. I want to go to that outtake now and just let folks hear from her the comment she made regards to potatoes. So we'll take that quick outtake right now.
У нас есть свой человек, которого мы даже прозвали мистер Sweet Potato.
Yes, indeed, this is very interesting for us, regardless of the fact that we are growing a variety of vegetables. Sweet potato is not our staple, so we will learn a lot. Moreover, that we have our great specialist in this field, the person who is really, really interested and looking deep into this matter. We even christened him as Mr. Sweet Potato.
Okay, as we looked at that, one of the interesting things was that she was talking about a fellow in the group that, as you'll recall, there was some discussion about, particularly sweet potatoes is what we're talking about, but this gentleman, and I understand maybe he was a doctor or something, had a very educated person, really got into detail talking about this genetics thing and the strains of potatoes and so forth. But listening to you afterwards as we were talking, a lot of potatoes, when we hear them talk about potatoes, are not the sweet potatoes, but the regular, what I guess we refer to around here as the Irish potato.
Irish potato, white potato, yeah. That is what they primarily grow. That is what they grow. And we had a very large grower of Irish potatoes there. And he felt that he could use some of his equipment and plant sweet potatoes too, and it gives him an additional crop and diversifies his production a little bit for that. So I think they were very excited about seeing sweet potatoes and the yields that they were getting. And I can tell you one thing out of their fields, you know, I can walk over almost any sweet potato field in Sampson County and pick up a bushel of potatoes in about 5 minutes after they go through it. They leave culls.
Absolutely.
And their fields, they wouldn't leave a thing. You couldn't let a pig, he'd starve on their fields if you let a pig out in one of their fields.
I'm kind of like you, and in fact, that's one of the things I miss this year. I usually have some friends close by that have sweet potatoes, and I'm the guy out there with the bucket. I miss my bucket of sweet potatoes this year. So if any sweet potato farmers out there, they got a field, let me know. I need a bucket of sweet potatoes. But it's interesting you mentioned that we do have a lot of things, as you indicated, that they look at as huge pluses that we just kind of consider, you know, a disc hits it and it's over with.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would not go to waste. I mean, literally when they harvest a field, it's clean when they finish. I mean, when I say clean, I mean absolutely clean. And
do you think as a result of just our conversation that we sparked there's another little quick outtake I want to do here, but because one of the questions I asked them is what we learned from them, what they may learn from us. Let's take that quick outtake now and kind of get the comment again from Amir through her interpreter Galena.
Наши люди давали очень ценные советы по выращиванию яблок, по уходу, по способу выращивания
Yes, over the 1.5 weeks that we've been here, we were definitely exchanging the experiences, and our specialists also shared and jumped in with their advice, especially when we were talking about growing apples and processing apples. And I am sure that was a valuable advice that your specialist will also bring home.
Okay, so it's interesting what they're pulling from us. I think the assumption is when I first went into this and started talking to you and to them, it was my sense that, well, we're just learning things from them. But, you have indicated to me, and we've talked, we actually can learn a lot from these folks as well.
Absolutely. They make very good use of everything. I'm going to use an example that a lot of people might not like to hear, but the horse. The horse is central to their culture. Originally, their culture was nomadic. They lived in yurts, and which is kind of like a domed tent. They use the horse. They milk the horse. Their national beverage is kumis, which is a type of horse milk that's been fermented. It kind of tastes like buttermilk.
Back up and say that again. That's fermented horse milk. So yes. I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I can only imagine.
And it tastes something like buttermilk. And there are folks that like buttermilk. My dad loves buttermilk and cornbread, and but that's their national drink. They eat horse flesh very commonly, especially at celebrations. Camels are another animal you see over there. They have a camel over there, and I spent some time with a fellow that was one of the world's greatest camel breeders, and he breeds camels. They milk camels. Camel milk is considered a very high quality food. They give it to their guests when you have. I've drank camel milk, and it's pretty heavy duty stuff. So, but their diet is primarily milk, flesh, starches. It's a very different diet, different culture than we normally are exposed to. Even in the cities, this is still carried out. They still use a lot of it's culture, just like we like to have, turkey and collard greens and dressing at Thanksgiving. It's very important for them to have this traditional food at different points throughout their year.
As we hear these things, it gives us pause when we just say those words. We're talking about, consumption of horses, talking about horse milk and all these kinds of things. But it's just routine for them. We're going to take our next break. We're talking with Dr. Bruce Williams. We're talking about a country called Kazakhstan. You're listening to We Should Know on the radio, on TV, Channel 16. Stay with us. We're going to continue this very interesting discussion.
Sampson County's free community newspaper is on the stands. Read all about our community news, sports, lifestyles, weddings, education, obituaries, classifieds, and much more community information. Know what's going on in your community. Read the Sampson Weekly. Submit your ideas to the Sampson Weekly at thesampsonweekly.com. Read the entire newspaper online at thesampsonweekly.com. The Sampson Weekly wants to celebrate with the residents of Sampson County. Send all your news and announcements, events, and achievements to information at thesampsonweekly.com. See the Sampson Weekly for details. Help the Sampson Weekly create a buzz. Tell your friends and family. There's a new weekly newspaper in Sampson County. The Sampson Weekly. Local sports, local news, obituaries, wedding announcements, current events, and much, much more. Look for it every Wednesday. For a limited time, free yard sale listings will be in our classified section. Go to our website, click on the classified section, and fill out the form. As long as space is available, we will publish your yard sales information. Sampson County's free community newspaper. Get your copy.
I'm Gary Hall, manager of Sessoms Jewelry. We are proud to be sponsors of JW's We Should Know. At Sessoms Jewelry, we've always strived to give you the latest in technical advice and knowledge on our merchandise. Remember, we should know at Sessoms Jewelry, downtown Clinton.
Huff Orthopedics and Sports Medicine is pleased to be a part of the community. Each and every patient we have served over the past 13 years has been given the most current and professional care available anywhere. As a board-certified orthopedic surgeon and certified sports medicine surgeon, I am committed to improving the quality of life through the latest in medical science and surgical procedures when needed. Huff Orthopedics and Sports Medicine is located at 520 Beeman Street, directly across from Sampson Regional Medical Center in Clinton. We look forward to serving you. Call us today at 910-596-5400 5633 for an appointment. I am Dr. Alex Huff, and we are pleased to sponsor We Should Know with J.W. Simmons.
Health Mart Pharmacy.
A real live person. It's just like Jenny told me.
Another friend of Jenny's. Great. I've met about 3 of Jenny's friends just this week.
You'll meet more of us. Jenny was telling all of us last week how great Health Mart is.
At Health Mart, all of our pharmacists take the time to get to know our patients, explain their medications, and answer any questions they may have. We really believe in better care and better service.
Can I stop in after work?
Absolutely.
Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
For all of your prescription and healthcare needs, shop Matthews Health Mart in the Jordan Shopping Plaza or call 592-3121.
I'm Gary Hall, manager of Sessoms Jewelry. We are proud to be sponsors of JW's We Should Know. At Sessoms Jewelry, we've always strived to give you the latest in technical advice and knowledge on our merchandise. Remember, we should know at Sessoms Jewelry, downtown Clinton.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The name of the program is We Should Know. We're excited to be here today. Exciting program about Kazakhstan. Dr. Bruce Williams is with us. As we're talking today, there's some video going to be. We're going to be pulling some shots up of the folks while they were here in Sampson County. Our Kazakhstanis, I guess, I'm assuming that's a word that was going on. We were talking about a number of things. It takes quite a bit to bring one of these tours through. I mean, you indicated the number of days that we're here and coming in through Atlanta, just the transportation, rather costly. You've indicated one source, a government source that helps this happen. Are there sponsors or something that help bring this together too?
Well, it's a joint thing between the government of Kazakhstan and the United States government. And the official name is the Kazakhstan Business Connections. Or KBC. That is what it was about, and this is just one part of a series of tours through the United States. They actually started in Kansas, and they had a tour of 2 weeks in Kansas to see the beef industry primarily and feed industry. And this part was a 3-week tour, 2 weeks actually in the field. We started in Georgia, spent a couple of days in Georgia, South Carolina, and then the bulk of the tour was spent in North Carolina. They spent several days in Asheville and then came down and spent 4 or 5 days in eastern North Carolina, of course, where the best agriculture is down here.
Absolutely.
So they did spend several days here. They learned everything from how we finance our farms. We had farm credit. Jay Darden gave a talk, and we discussed that, and that was a big issue. They were very, very interested in that. And then North Carolina State University was wonderful. They had a number of folks. We talked about Dr. Schulteis talked about vegetable production, and Dr. Weiner talked about cucumber breeding and production. And we had a number of people from NC State address the group so they could know how we did things here. We went out and looked at equipment, machinery. We went to the state ports. Governor Perdue hosted us at the governor's mansion, and we saw the garden that she has there, the little vegetable garden that she has there in Raleigh. And so we tried to give them the best that we have here and show them the best and answer their questions, and we left them with lots of information. Actually, we had an 8 gigabyte flash drive that each one of them got with publications from NC State and Clemson and Georgia, to let them have that information about everything from the different pesticides we use in these crops to how we cultivated them, equipment information, and so on and so forth.
Truly, and I mentioned this to you off air at some point in time. I said that you were a great ambassador as you did this, and truly I think that's what it was, because it was a great ambassadorial role to be able to talk to these folks and not so much sell them, because all they got to do is look at it and know that we've got a lot of things going on here that's super positive. But as I listened to you talk, I know there was a couple of other stops in the area here. One of them was to again, sweet potato grower. I'm sure they were fascinated at those roots and how they were brought out of the ground and the huge boxes and bins they were in. What kind of reaction did you get when they saw that?
Well, they were very impressed. We visited Mr. George Warren's farm out here. He was very gracious and showed his curing and storage facilities and the technology. They were very interested in that. And then the folks at Pride of Sampson went through and showed us how they grade and pack and clean and everything, the potatoes. Most of this they don't have there, or they have on a much limited basis. When they're harvesting vegetables in Kazakhstan at present, they basically harvest them from the ground from the farmer, and they take them directly to a farmer's market where the people in the city go. They call it the green market. They go to the market twice a week or so and buy everything they need. So it's not processed and put in a package and cleaned off the soil and all that. So that's what they were interested in, because as their economy grows, they're going to have, better production, better standardization, and consumers demand more too. They just aren't going to be able to maintain what they have.
Interesting thing to me is, and I know we alluded to this on an earlier program on We Should Know, but we talked about the idea of young farmers here. And I know when we were having lunch, I happened to run into Christopher Naylor, one of our young agribusinessmen here in Sampson County. He and his father, Larry Naylor. What is the potential if we have a young or even any kind of farmer, agribusiness person that wants to connect and have connections in that country? Is there a potential for expanded business with that country from an individual farmer base? And what are we doing to kind of, I guess, bring this tie together of better understanding Kazakhstan and what they may offer the agricultural person here in eastern, southeastern North Carolina?
Well, there's a great program sponsored by USAID called Farmer to Farmer, and I participated in that program. It's a totally volunteer program, and basically farmers or technical people will volunteer their time to go over to these various countries, and we are always looking. The organization to contact is cnfa.org. So that's www.cnfa.org. And you can go to their website and look under volunteer and see what kind of volunteer opportunities they are. And as I tell folks, it's like Peace Corps for somebody that only wants to do a 3-week gig. Mm-hmm. And so it's a short-term 2 to 3 week type assignment, and there's probably a couple of dozen countries now they're working with, Central Asia, Eastern Europe, Africa, South America, primarily, but if you see something you're interested in, you fill out an application and apply for it.
Well, and I think I'll mention that again, cnfa.org. If we've got listeners out there, you might want to just go to that. Just if you don't think you're interested, go anyway and just take a look and see what's going on in that area. I can only imagine if once you, as we talked about before, kick dirt over there, your education base broadens unbelievably by just being there.
It changes the way you view the world. When you see how other people, and I taught for many years. I feel sometimes guilty when I do the volunteer trips because I feel like I've learned a lot more and gained a lot more than I've given. Mm-hmm. And I think once you do that and see, there's lots of great ideas. And the one thing that's, people tend to think, well, they live in a country that is not as great as the United States, so they might not be as smart. But these people are very literate. I mean, they have almost 100% literacy in Kazakhstan. They all speak 2 languages. They all are using the most modern electronic equipment. I mean, they all had iPhones and Samsungs and really as good a cell phone coverage as I've seen anywhere in the world in their country. So they're very technologically adept, but they haven't got the infrastructure and they haven't got democracy like we have, so they can, and they're working on that. They've only been, as I said, 20 years is all they've had democracy there. So they're in their infancy, and they're just learning about capitalism. So before that, for almost 100 years prior to that, they were under the control of the old Soviet Union. Stalin went in there in the 30s and 40s and killed, some people say, over 1 million people in Kazakhstan alone that didn't agree with him. So they've had some very difficult times in their past, but they're growing, and I think in the future we're going to hear more from Kazakhstan. I think it's the people are wonderful people, warm and very intelligent and very hardworking.
Bruce, they were here at an interesting time, and they had to at least pick up on some of the huge billions of dollars that were spent. And you mentioned capitalism, but the money that was spent in our election process, our democratic election process. That process, was there any observations? Were they like, wow, what is all of this about? Or when they started seeing signs? And because obviously if they picked up a paper or turned on a TV or even drove down the road billboards, it was like they saw people's faces. Was there any comments about our process?
JW, one thing I've learned, between good friends and visitors, politics shouldn't be talked about.
They didn't mention it. They didn't mention it. You didn't mention it.
I didn't mention it. They didn't mention it. They did, make some comments, but they were not followed up. I think it was. They do have quite a bit. I've been over there when they're actually campaigning also, so they have billboards and
similar kind of thing.
They have a lot of that. Well, it's similar, yes, but they do have open elections and vote and everything. So, but politics is one of those areas that,
especially partisan politics.
Right.
But the politics itself being part of the democratic process is, I think, critical to any country.
And politics, religion, I have to bring that up since you brought
absolutely.
politics up.
Let's do that.
Most of these people were Muslim, and but they are very reformed, what I call reformed Muslim. I mean, it's very reasonable that the women don't dress differently. The women work, the men work, and voting, everything's on a one-on-one equal basis. So it's not like some of the countries, and the repressive regimes of some of the countries. It's a very open country. It's a country that you or I feel comfortable. Right. We can walk the streets. We wouldn't feel like that.
You feel safe.
Yes.
And when we look at countries, sometimes we hear the terms third world countries or second world countries. You would rank this as a first or second world country?
It's definitely a third world country, but they're growing very rapidly. You're having a lot of growth there.
Well, we're going to our last break, and we've got so much to talk about. I just don't want to leave anything out, but we'll be back in a moment. But we're talking with Dr. Bruce Williams. The name of the program is We Should Know, and we're talking about Kazakhstan. This is a very important, I think, exchange for us, certainly, here. We've done some outtakes for you. We're going to be back in a moment with our last segment. We hope you call a friend and hopefully dial in and see the program. We'll be back in a moment.
Health Mart Pharmacy.
A real live person. It's just like Jenny told me.
Another friend of Jenny's. Great. I've met about 3 of Jenny's friends just this week.
You'll meet more of us. Jenny was telling all of us last week how great Health Mart is.
At Health Mart, all of our pharmacists take the time to get to know our patients, explain their medications, and answer any questions they may have. We really believe in better care and better service.
Can I stop in after work?
Absolutely.
Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
For all of your prescription and healthcare needs, shop Matthews Health Mart in the Jordan Shopping Plaza or call 592-3121.
Hello, everyone. This is Jim Darden. After 25 years of teaching horticulture at Sampson Community College, I've retired to devote my full attention to Darden's Nursery and Landscaping, where we have grown local azaleas, trees, and other landscape plants for over 30 years. And our landscaping division has designed and installed hundreds of residential and commercial landscapes, irrigation, sodding, and night light systems as well. Please give me a call at 590-9689 or at home at 592-1424, and let's get started on your landscape. Our initial consultation is free. Congratulations to J.W. Simmons on an outstanding program, We Should Know.
I'm Gary Hall, manager of Sessoms Jewelry. We are proud to be sponsors of J.W.'s We Should Know. At Sessoms Jewelry, we've always strived to give you the latest in technical advice and knowledge on our merchandise. Remember, We Should Know at Sessoms Jewelry, downtown Clinton.
Interstar Communications, our local area internet provider, invites you to discover the wonders of the web with their unlimited internet services for only $19.95 a month. That's right, for only $19.95 a month, you'll have the whole world at your fingertips anytime or all the time with Interstar Communications. Plus, with Interstar's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week technical support at no extra charge, you'll have more than the local internet provider on your side. You'll have the whole internet team. So stop by today and see the friendly folks at Interstar Communications, 102 Sampson Street here in Clinton, or you can call them at 564-4638 and get started today on your adventure in the World Wide Web.
Huff Orthopedics and Sports Medicine is pleased to be a part of the community. Each and every patient we have served over the past 13 years has been given the most current and professional care available anywhere. As a board-certified orthopedic surgeon and certified sports medicine surgeon, I am committed to improving the quality of life through the latest in medical science and surgical procedures when needed. Huff Orthopedics and Sports Medicine is located at 520 Beeman Street, directly across from Sampson Regional Medical Center in Clinton. We look forward to serving you. Call us today at 910-596-5633 for an appointment. I am Dr. Alex Huff, and we are pleased to sponsor We Should Know with J.W. Simmons.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The name of the program is We Should Know. Today's program is Kazakhstan. We're talking with Dr. Bruce Williams. We thank you for listening to us today. As we go into this last segment, Dr. Williams, I want to try to cover a lot of things, and we've got another outtake. Hopefully we can get it up in this last segment. But there was just so many things that came to mind, and I know, I can only imagine the experience you had and the number of times you've been to Kazakhstan, plus the experience these folks had while they were in this country. From your observation, we've talked about equipment, we've talked about products and vegetables and genetic kinds of things and various strains of stuff they may take back. What in your observation did you kind of sense from these folks that maybe they were the most excited about? I mean, one of the things for us, obviously, we talked about sweet potatoes. I even heard them talking about apples, and there was a couple of comments about how important and excited they were with apples. And of course, now after you've mentioned that the country grows a lot of apples, I can see where that side is. But was there something kind of unique that stood out for you that maybe was?
Well, I think there's several things. Their equipment, when they were in Asheville, they had some tours of controlled atmosphere storage for apples. And for people that don't know what that is they lower the oxygen and raise the carbon dioxide in cool chambers and can keep apples for many years that way. And so this is old technology for the United States. But for them, this was new stuff, and they were very interested in that. We're also using some controlled atmosphere technologies for shipping, and we saw some of that down at the state ports. That allows you to ship things. I mean, so if you get grapes or bananas and many of these types of things, they may have been in there for 3 or 4 weeks on the cargo ships and controlled atmosphere or specialized storage containers. Also the equipment. We visited Mount Olive Pickles, and they were so gracious to give us a tour. Any and all the equipment, they were very, very interested in that. And it's very interesting here. I think the farmers take it for granted, but we have a number of manufacturers here that do some ingenious equipment. I mean, for digging sweet potatoes, for planting sweet potatoes. I mean, the technology has evolved, for us, and we think little of it. But when somebody else comes from a foreign country and sees this equipment, it's very, very interesting to them. And I think that's one thing that they'll probably take away and be calling up these manufacturers to have them ship some of this equipment over so they can use it in their operations.
I think you hit a very good point, and that's one of the things is just listening to folks talk and watching them as they observe things. I totally agree, and the concept, I mean, I'm still blown away. I mean, I grew up in agriculture here, and I grew up with a little small 140 farm-all tractor. Well, to me, these large combines and these huge tractors now with the cabs, I don't know that I could get in there and operate those things, but I can only imagine if you come from a country and you were just used to that kind of small equipment, and all of a sudden you see some of the technology we have, and I'm talking literally tractors bigger than houses, and all of a sudden they see this. It's got to literally blow them away in what their observations are, and you can kind of see that in their face.
Well, I was in the Ukraine a number of years ago, and it was funny in the Ukraine because the first thing a farmer would do is take you to the shed and show you his John Deere. I mean, you wouldn't meet his wife, his children, his sons. He'd take you immediately and show you his John Deere tractor. And so equipment is very important to them. But I think what's also important for us, our farmers, understand that we didn't invent all our technology. I mean, when you look at the vegetable technology we use, most of the drip tube and the irrigation systems originally came from the Israelis. The Quonset style greenhouses from Western Europe, and Spain is a big leader in some of the tunnels and some of the materials used for early vegetable production. We saw a huge operation, Cal Lewis's operation, actually in the southern part of the southeastern part of the state, where he was raising strawberries, 100 acres of strawberries, year-round production, using tunnels. And he said, I found it in Spain, they were using it in Scotland, and they stole technology from Western Europe. And so he put all that together, and we do the same thing. People say, well, they're coming here to get our technology. We're doing the exact same thing. And I saw technology in Africa a couple of years ago that I think would be wonderful technology for here. So you see these things, you bring them back. It's a world market now, and you can get on YouTube or your telephone, and they were routinely calling back and forth home. And it's 11-hour time difference, so that was the biggest issue. But you know, the technology worldwide now is so unbelievable, and communications, that this information is being shared all over. And it's a two-way street, because they'll have things that we'll use, and they'll use some of our technology.
As you look back at the trip, and I know I've done this just from our brief encounter, I've thought of a number of things I wish they had time, and that up front maybe if we could have looked at, that they could have visited, just here in our area. And is there things that you wish now, maybe looking back at it, I would have loved to have had time to get them to see so and so and that kind of thing?
Yes, absolutely. The part of the problem is, and I've organized a number of trips like this sort of thing, and you know this yourself, JW, is you get brain dead after a couple of days. I mean, after you're flooded with information, and you have to realize these folks for 2.5 weeks, when they got here, they'd been on almost 2 weeks in the U.S., and it's like you get so much, you just get overload.
It's overwhelmed with information.
You're just overwhelmed with information, and so you can only do so much. And after that, you just become saturated. And I think they were pretty well saturated. I actually had to cut some things out because I felt like that, it was just too much. And I felt the same way myself, because people want to show you how they're doing things, but we're frail things as human beings, and so we can only handle so much input, and we aren't computers. We aren't like that. So we've got to pace it, and we try to do a lot of the cultural and social things that would help them learn that. When Jim Darden brought the sweet potato pie, I mean, they all love that, and that was something that
was a moment I think they will remember. And we've got some still shots of Amir, and as I was standing there with her, she was trying that sweet potato pie, and I think those are the moments that you tie back the technology piece to, that hopefully will resonate with them and create this positive relationship for years to come.
Absolutely, I think that's absolutely essential, and seeing the equipment, they'll associate that with some of the equipment that they saw at the research farm out there, and with Rodney, they did a great job showing us some of the new equipment and how they handle potatoes and plastic and how we disposed of all that. So all that, you've got to give them something to anchor it to.
Well, and I want to go to a little outtake clip, and I think folks will see this and listen. You can hear the appreciation on this little clip from Amir through her interpreter, how much she kind of appreciated being here.
В нынешнее время это очень ценный опыт передачи друг другом, обмен информацией.
We are really grateful that you welcomed us here on this welcoming soil. I'm sure that we will continue exchange of this valuable information, especially at this time and age. It is really, really important, and we're very appreciative of this visit.
Okay, so as we saw from that clip, there was a sincere appreciation. I want to take an opportunity now to mention also Alan Thornton, who, you know, we are so fortunate and blessed to have experts in field with agriculture. North Carolina State University and you mentioned the research station. I just can't say enough for what, in my observation, they continue to do for agriculture, and these universities are continuing to do unbelievable research, and of course you're right, kind of on point with all of those kinds of things. I guess they got the feel of that as well, correct?
Right. Alan Thornton, you just don't realize what a gem you have in him. He is, for one, he could go anywhere he wanted to. He's recognized all over the East Coast for his expertise with vegetables, and I mean not just the academic understanding. He has a broad-based knowledge and of how things are done and the right way to do things, and he's seen a lot of different things. And you're very, very fortunate here in Sampson County, and you have a great history of having wonderful vegetable extension folks here, and I think it shows. You're the #1 county in a number of vegetable production areas and with revenue generation. So you know, you got the best, and you keep producing the best.
Well, and I agree 100%. I want to give a shout out to all of those folks with Cooperative Extension and what they're doing. Very quick, I've got to try to get this in. One of the big areas, you know, that we do that's not directly plant related, but is in the livestock and poultry area. And we talked about culture and what, you know, what folks over there consume. Is there things that would be precluded from when we look at chickens or turkeys or hogs or swine population? What of those three would they probably not get involved in?
They're Muslims, so the pork, that's it. Yeah, and we had to do some dancing around that. So
I remember that at lunch.
Because there were several of the folks that were very serious about that, and they even felt in some cases that pork on the same table they couldn't eat. And they weren't ugly about it or anything, they just didn't eat. I mean, we observed that. So we had to be very careful about that, but you know, that was a very small part of it. I really wished I could have given them some of our barbecue, but
we pride ourselves on that. We'll keep the chickens and the turkeys headed that way, though, so I'm sure they'll do that. We're talking today with Dr. Bruce Williams. We're talking about Kazakhstan for those folks that maybe had tuned in late. This program, I want to make sure folks understand, they can pick it up at 7 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings, as well as its airtime on Tuesdays, 2:30 to 3:30. We're also going to try to get it on our Facebook site and on YouTube. This is a very important program. Dr. Williams, thank you for being here. Thank you and all of these folks for what you're doing to continue this international effort. And hopefully we'll have you back in a few months to talk about some other adventures. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching today. Kazakhstan was the subject. Kazakhstan is a country that go to Google and look at it. We look forward to seeing you next week on the radio with We Should Know.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question or comment regarding this or any episode, please send your email questions and or comments to jwsimmonsedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday afternoon beginning at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.